You can tell pretty much right away by this sunshine, or maybe my cream suit, that I am not in New York anymore. I am in Los Angeles, and today I'm bringing you along with me to see some of my favorite galleries in downtown LA, starting with Night Gallery. And I've taken you all along to Night Gallery before, which I will leave some of the videos linked above and below, but this is a brand new space that they just opened. And oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever been to a gallery this big before. This is next level. The exhibit we're about to see is an installation by the LA-based artist Samara Golden, and you know this is going to be quite an installation if you have to access it via stairs. It's going to be massive. The show is titled Guts, and it's an installation that represents the abstract, or stream of conscious, if you will. When you look down and into this sort of skyscraper-esque sculpture, it's unclear what is real and what's an illusion, just because the levels seem to keep going and expanding and reflecting into the beyond. And that's really the entire point. Golden felt there was no point in trying to communicate anything but the abstract due to these uncertain and chaotic times that we're living in. In fact, Golden states, quote, "It's a way to map out all the grief, fear, doubt, and frustration. It's starting to finally see the beauty only to realize it's gone, pockmarked and diseased." And the exhibit continues on the lower level. This just gives you a lovely overview of the space and what's going to be possible with it. I honestly can't wait to see more shows here in the future. We've now headed over to Night Gallery's original space to see an exhibit by Robert Nava titled Bloodsport. And the title is a reference to the 1988 martial arts film. And you can definitely get a sense of this 80s video game-esque Fight Club kind of vibe that's happening in Nava's imaginary worlds. Except for instead of people or machines duking it out, it's bunnies and sharks. And what's really special about this exhibit is that it features works on paper, which Nava has done before, but these really large-scale works on paper that truly rival the grandeur of Robert's works on canvas. And a few key differences that Nava noted when creating works on paper versus canvas was how quickly the paint dried on paper, as well as how the smoothness of the paper really made the brush move faster. As opposed to on canvas, it sort of catches it and slows it down with texture. And for his works, Nava uses a mixture of acrylic paint, oil stick, and grease pencil to get this effect. As far as the subject matter of his works, Nava is inspired by conflict, whether that be literal conflict depicted with bunnies and dragons fighting each other with fire and water, or a more metaphorical conflict between his thoughts and sources of inspiration. And examples of this can range from something as simple as good and evil to complex as the advancement of technology versus medieval culture. Another example of how Nava illustrates conflict in his works is in the contrast between the real and the imaginary. Nava does this in a really straightforward way by pitting, a legendary creature like a dragon against real-life bunnies, and in an advanced way by combining real animals like wolves and cows into this new hybrid creation, making the real imaginary. Overall, Nava artfully combines all of these sources of inspiration and puts them together into a narrative that's just being played out before our eyes. And these works really leave you with questions like, who's good and who's evil? And more importantly, who's going to win the battle? Right across from Night Gallery, which is that white building in front of us, is another awesome gallery in downtown LA, and that is François Ghebaly. And we're going to see a show at this gallery by Sayre Gomez. And Sayre Gomez is an American artist that uses a variety of mediums, such as paintings and sculptures and video, to capture the essence of contemporary Los Angeles. And the exhibit is titled Halloween City, which is referencing when Halloween stores pop up in these defunct big box retailers, and they create this sort of, quote, spooky resurrection. And all of Gomez's works have an undercurrent of capitalist commentary that really focuses on the tension between image and decay. And I can't think of a more perfect city to communicate these tensions than Los Angeles, America's golden city. It's representative of fame and fortune. What I really enjoy about Gomez's work is the absence of people. It really makes you feel like you've walked onto some kind of movie set where you can use your imagination to fill in the blanks of what you feel is about to happen. We're now at 1700 South Santa Fe Ave, which is part of a larger building, which is a converted tire factory and now home to a handful of galleries. And this area we're in is called the Greenhouse by Vielmetter Gallery, and this is a sculpture by Nicole Eisenman. Another exhibit going on in the Greenhouse consists of these sculptures by Bari Ziperstein, also part of Vielmetter Gallery. And now we're going to head inside to the larger gallery spaces. This building is now home to Vielmetter, Nicodim, Gavlak, and I'm excited to see even more galleries hopefully migrate into this space because it's a nice way to see a lot of shows at one time. This is another Vielmetter space. I think they have a lot in this building. It's something like 4 or 5 spaces, which is kind of crazy. But this is an exhibit by Ross Bleckner. And Bleckner is a New York City-based artist. And this is a really exciting show because he hasn't had an exhibit in LA in over 25 years. And the title of the exhibit is the German word Sehnsucht, which is used here to describe yearning for an ideal. And it's through these abstract paintings that Bleckner searches for beauty and truth, his ideal. Across the hall is another Vielmetter space, and this is an exhibit by Raffi Kalenderian titled Before the Moon Falls. And Kalenderian is an LA-based artist, and the title is The Fall's 1979 post-punk song Before the Moon Falls, which he was inspired by since his works carry a similar mix of angst and, quote, creative bliss. Overall, Kalenderian is known for these emotionally charged portraits, which are conveyed not only with his subject matter and their surroundings, but by this vibrant use of color. Down the hall from the two Vielmetter spaces is Nicodim Gallery's space, featuring this exhibit by Dominique Fung, whose work I've had the pleasure of seeing recently at Jeffrey Deitch in New York. I'll try to leave that video linked above or below. And there are quite a few works in this space, but the exhibit is rooted around 6 works that are all the same size that capture a journey from ocean to shore. And while these paintings may capture metaphorical migration, Fung has ensured a real migration of these works by making sure that not one of them end up in the same home of collectors. They have to be dispersed. And the title of the exhibit is another reference to this idea of migration and wonder. The title, which is Coastal Navigation, is a quote, an orientation method to determine a seabound vessel's location in relation to landmarks on the shore and the visible objects under the sea. Coastal navigation calls into question the grounding of these landmarks themselves. When everything is forever in flux, then aren't we all in a constant state of being displaced? We're now upstairs at Gavlak Gallery to see this vibrant exhibit by April Bay, which is titled When You're on Another Planet and They Just Fly. Bay has completely transformed this space into an alternate world, truly another planet, if you will. And this world is meant to represent a, quote, defiant, speculative future where Black folks create life and sustainability for the planet and its inhabitants. And she's titled this world Atlantica. And the gallery states that, quote, the artist's expansive world building as an intentional decolonial practice champions Black subjects as the sole representations of opulence, self-care, and pleasure. And she does such a great job of translating this through materials like sequins and fur and wax fabric and more. We're now at Hauser and Wirth to see an exhibit of works by Gary Simmons, which is super exciting because this is his first exhibit since joining Hauser and Wirth after the closure of Metro Pictures Gallery. And if you're not familiar with Simmons' work, he is known for using a variety of mediums to, quote, examine the pervasive nature of racist ideology and its manifestations in visual culture. His works address themes of race, identity, politics, and social inequity, and the ways in which these issues are both evident and concealed in the cultural landscape. He's especially known for these paintings where the subject matter looks like it's being erased. And he specifically applies this effect to racialized imagery such as cartoon characters like Honey and Bosco that America has tried to erase from its memory, from its past. And Simmons is saying, no, this is still at the heart of who this country is. And he chooses these seemingly innocent things like cartoon characters to A, make difficult subject matter easier for the viewer to digest, and B, to show that while something may seem innocent, racial stereotypes are dangerous and hurtful. This room is particularly impressive. The scale is amazing. They've actually painted chalkboard paint onto the walls, and Simmons has created his works directly on top of that. The exhibit ends with this sculpture installation titled, "You Can Paint Over Me, But I'll Still Be Here." And for the most of us, these school tables are instantly recognizable, potentially triggering, and they take us back to sitting in a school cafeteria as children. And Simmons has used these tables and the analogy of the school cafeteria to represent society as a whole. And he sprinkled in these sculptures of things like the heckling crow characters of Disney's classic animated film Dumbo to represent the infiltration of racism into society and the impact that can have on someone's identity. The second exhibit on view at Hauser and Wirth in LA is by the British artist Phyllida Barlow. And it's kind of crazy to believe that while Barlow has been creating works for over 50 years, this is her first exhibit in Los Angeles. And these are new works created from cardboard and fabric, plywood and cement. And these were all installed on site, obviously. I have no idea how you would get them in here otherwise. And the sculptures are positioned so that we, as the viewers, can view them from afar, can approach them, can even look up into them. And it's all meant to transform the viewer. So I'll try to give you guys a few different viewpoints of these sculptures and see if you're transformed by it. And that's the end of our gallery tour for downtown galleries in Los Angeles. My next video from LA will be exploring galleries in West Hollywood and sort of the surrounding areas of West Hollywood. So definitely stay tuned for that. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and turn on your notifications so you'll know every time I have a new video out. And I will see you all in the next video.